Welcome back to Open Door Conversations. This is episode 14, titled I Ain't Angry Because I Express Myself. I am not my emotions. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm Renata.
And I'm Fatima.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening in. Sorry for the immediate laughter, but you know, I kind of feel some kind of way about the reality of this topic. I'm just gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why does it evoke an emotion immediately.
And look, I'm laughing because if only they could see your face.
Oh, one day. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it really does. It evokes an immediate emotion. I must be honest, and I've learned that whenever you feel something, the first question to ask yourself is why?
Or here's one in a therapeutic sense. Where's that coming from?
Where is that coming from? And I will admittedly and transparently, if that's not a word, I just made it up, we'll go with it, say it's because I've been there before on numerous occasions where just because I express myself in relationship, work, boss, shoot with my kids, like any doesn't matter if you express an emotion that's not happy, joy, peace, whatever. If you express any sense of discomfort with a grievance or you're just saying, okay, that's not okay for me, whatever it is, it's sometimes, oh, she must be angry,
Yes.
and I say, no, I'm not. I'm not angry just because I may express a grievance or I may share with somebody how I feel. My disagreement is not always anger.
And it's like as though that's the only emotion that Black women are able to express
That
is
part.
anger.
That
Like,
part.
where does that even come from?
And there's
You
hundreds.
know? And it's funny that you say that in every relationship because it is. Just the other day, I was having a conversation with your brother, and I forget what it was that we were talking about. And I responded, and it was like, babe, I'm just talking to you. You don't have to get upset. I'm like, I'm not even upset. Like, what? Like, where is this even coming from? Again, as you said, because I express a disagreement with whatever may have been said, or even I express an emotion, or I'm expressive. Let's say that I'm expressive, then it's anger. It can't be that I am either passionate about whatever it is that we're speaking on. And so maybe my voice may have changed, but it didn't change to a point of anger. But because that's not what you're used to the soft, the humble, the grace giving, like, that's what they desire, and he would always tell our daughter, well, why is mom yelling? And she was like, mommy doesn't yell. Her voice changes, but she
Right.
doesn't yell. And so I think that is actually a gift that we as Black women have, is to be able to tone change
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
without even having to raise our voices. And I think that part right there is intimidating.
Well, G's still working on me a little bit because I'm from the South. You are too. And so my
Absolutely.
passion just come right on through.
That's it. And it's nothing but passion. And, I tell my husband, when he's like, well, why are you yelling? I'm passionate and I'm country. So I'm going to be loud. Like,
Right. You know what? Oh, this is a good point for the people in our community. Because I want to validate the people who listen and even ourselves, certainly myself, I'll speak for me, that, culture plays a huge part. And there's so many, I think, messages that point to this idea that if we're expressing anything other than, you know, timid,
submission.
submission, timidness, or whatever, that somehow that means that we are aggressive or we're angry. and we're showing some sign of like, oh, leave that person alone because they about to blow
Mhm.
their top. And I just don't think that that's the case. So much of what we experience, I think, in society is maybe us, I don't know, having to beat back against that
Mm.
narrative.
And one thing that we discussed a little bit earlier, that comes from, that narrative comes back from the days of enslavement, because we were nothing more than submissive then,
Mm,
and we were not expressive then. And
mm,
no matter how far we have come as a community,
mhm,
I can't even say as a country, but that's for another topic.
mhm.
So no matter how far we've come as a community, that's still how the world sees us. They don't see any of the advancements that people of color have made. They don't
Mhm.
see any of the positions that people of color have made. It is still that same narrative of those days and those times, and they continue to try to keep us there. And so, if we are anything other than submissive to what they desire us to be and to respond, then that's where the anger comes from.
But I mean, I gotta say that there's so many other things. I'll share a story. Um, Working in a place when I moved to California, as I started to come into the clinical world,
Mm,
um, I remember the first day, maybe the second or third day on the job. I remember hearing something about, oh, it's gonna take you like 6 months to a year to learn your job.
mm,
And I was like, "Er?" Like, I've been working professionally since 19 years old. It should
mm.
not. Here's one. As a matter of fact, my mentality is that I don't have time for any job I'm doing to take me that long for me to get in and really know what I'm doing.
That part.
That's just based on how we grew up, in the military. Like you don't have the time to wait 6 months to figure it out, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not arrogant in that. And I was like, that's a little weird. So, me, Inspector Gadget, I'm investigating. Why is it taking somebody that long to learn their job? And when I vocalized, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, is it possible for me to just train with this person? I would like to, I need to make me some type of continuity so I can understand what's going on for me to realize it's taking people 6 months to a year because y'all got too much going on. There's no consistency. There's no
Mm.
processes or programs in place to train people. I'm not going to create it because that's not my role, but I'll do it for myself, right? So as I made that known, and of course I'm professional. Oh, it was lights out, right? She she whatever. She knows too much. She's aggressive. She this and that. So people will start to engage with me a little bit different. I start to notice a little bit more condescending tone, people
Mm.
doing things like, do you need help with that? I'm like, to make a phone call? No, no, I'm good. Like I'm good. I don't need help with that. And then I end up, which is not really professionally, has probably not really, not to the extent has like happened to me before. Like, oh, I'm in the office during the initial, whatever 90-day review or whatever. And then like, oh, you're doing great. But there's this one piece. The team feels like they can't talk to you. I said, help me understand what you mean, Oh, well, they try to do this. I said, oh, okay, I get this because I'm not allowing for people to talk in an unprofessional, condescending tone, belittling and all the things. And no, I haven't brought that to your attention, but because I'm not allowing that to come toward me, because I put up boundaries, now I'm angry. I'm like, no, not at all. I don't come to work angry. I don't get out of bed angry. Most people in my circle know I'm not an angry person. No, I disagree with that. I said, but no, I'm not an angry person because I don't allow mistreatment. Please. Like, where are they doing that at? Like, no, that's not okay. And because I had the position of, I'm saying that's a boundary for me. It's not okay. I don't speak that way to people. I'm not going to.
Right.
And so I'm not allowing that somehow it turned around on me and
Mm.
I was angry. So I went back to my desk and wrote my resignation later. I said, no, this ain't the place for me because I can't deal with that, you know.
Absolutely. And you shouldn't.
No, nobody should, right? Like that's a shame. We want to bring in the mental health component. How many people have to struggle with the anxiety and depression possibly that accompany being in environments like that for an extended period of time? Now I know everybody can't up and quit their job. I know that, right? I told myself that's the end of that. I ain't working for nobody else. Operation going to private practice was in effect. And that's what I did. But I'm like, how many people in our community or communities of color have to deal with that and the fallout from that and having to manage their emotions around other people's view of them just because they don't accept mistreatment.
And what's so interesting about what you were saying, and as you were speaking, what I was thinking about is, as you stated, professional boundaries. And so when we try to set up professional boundaries and we are going to work just to work, I didn't come to work to be friends. I didn't come to work to hang out at the water cooler with you. I came in to work to do my job. Then we become unapproachable. Then we become, not easy to work with. And that's where all of those issues begin to come in as well. So it's almost being stuck between a rock and a hard place. What is it that you want from me other than for me to be me? See, I have no expectations of you because we just work together. But your expectations of me is to fall in line with how you expect me to be. But you have a perceived notion of how I should already be. And if I'm anything outside of that, then I'm difficult. I'm not easy to work with. And so, like you said, how do you manage that? How do you continue to still be you, have those professional boundaries and even personal boundaries to not allow, as you said, to be spoken to that way and be treated that way without it overtaking you mentally?
Right. That's a good question. And I'll be honest with you, like I said earlier, I can't tell people up and quit your job.
Right.
Right. Because mama always said, it's better have a job while you still got one. Find a job while you still got a job, I mean.
Absolutely.
Right. But I do believe is wisdom and really evaluating the environment that you are in.
Yes.
I really do believe that. And I'll talk to again my experience. When I looked around, it wasn't just that series of months that I was there in that environment. I had to look around at the entire organization. There were 2 African American women in that entire building. 2 out of hundreds. There were only 2. That spoke to me. When I thought about looking at training or other times where I would run into people who were maybe in other offices or parts of that entire division that I was in, there were maybe a handful, maybe 2 handfuls of people of color, like people who look like me. And I had to look around at that. And I had to say, do I really want to work in an organization that is not equal representation of people of color? You got an entire team of people and there's only you got 15, 16 people and there's only 1 Black person on your team.
Wow.
In a whole building of hundreds, there's only 2 Black women in this entire building. No, thank you. So it wouldn't have mattered when I talk about evaluating, it wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, how I moved about the cabin. There's probably already, and I'm not throwing a race card, I'm just saying, look around.
Right.
Right? Because that was the narrative, that was the conversation that even they had about her. Because she was like, no, this doesn't make any sense. Or no, I don't agree with that. If you're not agreeable,
yes,
that equals anger. And why I say evaluate is because if you don't watch that for yourself, you could potentially internalize that.
Mm,
And if that becomes internalized, what in the world do you think your behavior can become?
right.
So no, I didn't want that toxicity living up inside of me. So I was like, yeah, no, peace. I'm out.
To your point of what you just said, when you begin to internalize that and you're not careful about that, then how does your behavior become? And there was a show that I was listening to today, and the gentleman was talking about how our community um, still feels that everyone needs to struggle because I struggled, you need to struggle. But then, especially this generation, but then he was like, but in my head, I'm thinking, well, didn't you struggle? So we didn't have to struggle the same way.
Hello.
But because you were in the position that you had to fight and climb your way up through that company because of those same things that you were just speaking about, oh, I'm not going to lend that hand down because I had to go through it, you go through it.
Mhm.
No, that's not how it works. Again, as you said, to your point, we have to be careful of what we internalize of what we're getting from others, because then we will easily transfer that to others and not even realize it till it's too late.
Mhm.
And as you were speaking, I was thinking about all of these diversity and inclusion departments that these companies have, that which is very ironic because so few of them have people of color on these teams.
On the actual team.
And it's like you still aren't making any strides or any differences because you don't have any people of color on there. And if you
Mhm.
do, it's very few people of color that are even making a difference. So here's one, as you said, as you evaluate the organization that you're in, if they do happen to have a diversity and inclusion department and you know how they typically treat individuals, join that board
Right.
and help them to understand that the way you might feel as though you're doing it the right way, but you're going all about it the wrong way.
Right. That's true. And here's one. If you can't be a person of color and be on the diversity team, like there's no space for you, like like they won't allow people. Ding, 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 ding. That is telling you something. I'm not saying quit your job,
That part.
not at all. So you are not gonna put that on open door conversations. I'm just or ethnicity. I'm just telling you, evaluate that,
Yes.
right? If you are sitting somewhere, I was talking to another client, like this is probably like a month ago, and at the top of my notebook, as I'm taking notes, it just dawned on me, I said, stagnant water stinks. And I was saying it out loud, and they just cracked up laughing. They were like, oh, right.
Mm,
If there's not going to be any movement and you don't see yourself being able to advance every which way, I'm going to say, like, this is what I had to do. I remember talking to my mom one day in the morning, one day on my way to work, sitting in the parking lot. I said, that's it. I'm going to have me a come to Jesus meeting. I'm going to sit and talk with the Lord for about a good week every day.
mm.
Not that I don't any other time. It's just going to be concentrated communication.
Right.
Right. And I had to come to that realization. This is not, when I look at all of that, I don't want to internalize that. I don't want to bring up negative core beliefs about myself developed from this experience. Now I got to go therapy. Right.
Right.
About this. I don't want that. And so I had to evaluate and realize, like, look, that's not who I am. And I'm not going to let this experience or somebody else's personal biases and judgments and whatever else move my how I see me or what I believe about me. And so for that reason, I was out. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want no part of that. I don't.
And like you said, not that we're telling anyone to quit their jobs, but it's so important that you evaluate the space that you're in, and not only just on the job, but
Mhm.
the spaces all around you. If
All
you
around
can't be you around family, friends, and others, then you really need to evaluate those spaces.
you. Hmm.
If it's okay for everyone else around you to express themselves, but when you express yours, you're the angry Black woman, then that issue is not with you, it's with them. And I think that for us as Black women, we have to stop internalizing how the world perceives us and recognize who we are.
That's it. Yeah. And don't show up. Let's not show up that way just because we met with that energy. Yeah.
And with that, I had to tell a client that yesterday. She was like, well, I'm going to do this. That's what they want. I said, no, ma'am, we're not responding that way. We're not going to give it to them. Well, that's what they already think. Exactly. So why validate them?
Yeah. Right. I'm not going to come outside of my character and who I am and how I operate just to prove what? I'm certainly not going to prove you right. Hello?
That part.
No. You can keep them lies in your own head. No, thank you. I don't want no part of it. So, this was a brief conversation. You know, I feel like we maybe not want to tiptoe too far into it.
Right.
I didn't want my emotions to be evoked. Okay.
Because then, like you said, we'll be calling up our therapist. Like, I need a session.
A whole session, like 90 minutes. Charge me.
But it was a good conversation, and that it is our prayer and our hope that if any parts of this conversation resonates with you, that you do the internalizing examination of who you are and not who the world perceives you to be, and to know that your voice is valid, your opinions are valid, and they are needed, and they should be respected. Right. And if they are not, you may need to examine the spaces and change those spaces that you're in, where you are not valued for the woman and the queen and I'm not going to give any more titles because we have too many titles that we answer to versus answering to the title of ourselves.
That's true. I couldn't have said it any better myself. That's my sister. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you like it, please subscribe. Got any questions, comments, concerns, or gripes? Go ahead and send those our way too. You can hit us up on social media, Open Door Convo on Instagram or Facebook, or you can hit us up on Gmail at opendoorconvo@gmail.com. And until next time, we'll see you then.
We will see you then. Have a good one, everyone.